Hey ghouls and gals, welcome back to another weekly reading vlog. It has been a while since I've attempted like a weekly reading vlog. I have done a few dedicated reading vlogs in the past couple of months, one for The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue and the second one for The Burning God. I'm really gonna try and start to get back in the habit, especially since I have a bunch of free time. I am actually off of my day job at the moment because I am going to go get COVID tested on Sunday. I was in close contact with someone who has tested positive for COVID, so I don't have any symptoms, but I can't go back to work until I quarantine and also get like a test saying that I'm negative. So fingers crossed that I'm negative. Starting this vlog off on a fantastic note. So that's how my December's going. And November was like a really good reading month and also a very terrible reading month at the same time, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I try and do this thing every year. I should have known. It happened last year. It's happening this year. I tried to read all of the Goodreads best of horror last year, failed. Tried to do it this year. I'm probably gonna fail at it too, because both years I tried to do like the whole 20 book list and I was really set on reading every single book, and I just don't think that's gonna happen. It's putting me in a slump because in November I finished 4 books, hated one. The other 2 were good, but they're not gonna be like favorites or anything. They were just like middle of the road books for me, but a lot better than that last one. And then I read my favorite book of the whole entire year. It was a weird month of highs and lows, and then the first book that I read was the worst book that I read in the month. So there's like a week after that where I didn't want to read, and then the last book of the month that I read was my favorite book. So just after that, I've just been in such a big reading funk because it's good, because I don't think I am gonna top that book for a long time. But that's also the bad news too, because I just feel like whatever I pick up, I'm not going to like as much as I maybe would have, because I'm just going to be comparing it to The Burning God. So I figured maybe starting the weekly reading vlogs would, number one, get my mind off of the kind of concerning and nervous things going on in my personal life at the moment, just in terms of health scares, and then also kind of get me motivated to read again. So reading plans for this week. I want to finally finish To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. Very chunky first contact with aliens sci-fi. I'm enjoying it. I would recommend, unless you absolutely love Christopher Paolini and know that you want to have a physical copy and that you really like this type of book, to check out the audiobook, because this is very dense and I would not be able to get through it without the audiobook. The audiobook is absolutely incredible. The narrator of the audiobook does, if you think of any DC video game or like Cartoon Network show or a lot of the DC cartoon movies, the narrator plays a voice in that, and she's just really stellar at characterization work. So this is a one narrator audiobook, but it feels like a full cast audiobook, so I'm enjoying that. I'd like to finish this week. I think I've been reading it since September, so I just like to finish it and say that I'm done with it. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I am enjoying it. It's just a lot. And then I plan on picking up Tower of Dawn, which I'm going to be honest, I am very nervous about because it follows Kale, a character who I have really hated in the series. So I'm very nervous about a whole book that kind of just features around his narrative, and not just that it features his point of view, but without giving away too many spoilers, he is in a different location than every other main character. So I don't know, this is gonna be an interesting one. I do think it is shorter than Empire of Storms, which I'm very thankful for. Not by a lot, it's still like 600 pages. Empire of Storms I think might be my least favorite one of the series so far. I feel like that's a very divisive book. I feel like I went on the Goodreads and looked, and it's either like 1 star, absolute worst book in the series, or 5 stars, absolutely best book in the series. Here's the thing. spoilers, just, you know, skip past a little bit if you don't read the series, if you don't want spoilers, if you don't care about the series. Our main character, Aylin, I did not like her character at all in Empire of Storms. I do like unlikable main characters. One of my favorite characters of all time is Rin in the Poppy War series. She's very unlikable as well. And prior to this point in the series, I haven't minded Aylin. Yes, she's overconfident, she's oversure of herself. Like, I don't think she would be a very fun person to be around, especially if you're not one of her close friends. She's very arrogant. I don't mind that aspect about her character. I really do think that, especially in like a fantasy setting, it can be fun to read about characters that are just so outlandish and out there because it's like escapism. And obviously you wouldn't do that in real life, but it's fun to read about a character who can. So I haven't minded her. I've actually enjoyed her until this book, and I just was not vibing with her at all. I didn't like her point of views. I didn't like her way that she did everything in this book, but most of this book she's pretty insufferable, which I hate to say. I don't like Rowan, but I've never liked Rowan. So I think that's a big part of it. Like, the more that he encroaches on her story, the less I like her, which I feel bad about saying, but I'm not a fan of that main relationship. Lorcan and Ilde, I enjoyed their point of view to an extent. I thought it started off really slow. I wasn't a fan of it. I started enjoying it as time went on. I really don't mind that they have a romance, but it needed to be in a different book. This book was just so, not even romance, just, I feel like the beginning was super slow and not a lot of anything was happening. And then you have like 200 pages of just every single pairing of characters just all start getting it on. And I don't hate romance and fantasy, but it was just a lot that every single chapter in the middle of this book, it would go from one couple getting together to another couple getting together to another couple getting together. You just gotta space them out throughout the series and throughout the book because nothing was happening except for these couples, which wasn't fun. I enjoyed the additions of Fenris. I really like him as a character. For whatever reason, we don't get a lot from him, but I enjoy him and I can't wait to see him in the rest of the series. And Gavriel, I think he's fine. Adion, I didn't mind him. I love Lysandra. That was the big plus. Lysandra and Manon and maybe Dorian really carried this book for me. And I hesitate to say Dorian because he feels like a completely different character. So this is one where honestly I liked Manon and Asterin together. I ship them. But at the same time I enjoyed like the flirty tension that Manon and Dorian had together. I wanted it to remain flirty tension for a while longer. So I don't know, like Dorian's character felt really off to me. He just felt like a different person. I'm just gonna chalk that up to like trauma and hopefully he'll get a little bit better because I do really love his character. So Dorian, Manon, Lysandra really, really carried this book for me, which is concerning because none of them are going to be in this book and I don't know about the next book, how much or how little they're going to be in it. So that being said, it was my least favorite book in the series. The end, I'm really intrigued on what happens in Kingdom of Ash now. All in all, I'm really glad that I picked up Crescent City first. If you're new to the channel, in March, I just picked up Crescent City on a whim. I read it, I really enjoyed it, and then I started reading Throne of Glass. So I'm glad that I picked up Crescent City first because I really do love that book, and I am excited to continue on with this series, and I'm glad that I read these two series the way I did. Because I think if I would have read Throne of Glass series first, I don't think I would have picked up Crescent City, or if I hadn't, I wouldn't have picked it up as fast as I did. So I really enjoy Crescent City. I do think that is really cool though, just based looking at Throne of Glass to Crescent City. I don't care what you think of Sarah J Maas, but she's really just perfected her craft and her style of story that she wants to tell. I know not everyone likes romance fantasy. I was really, really shocked to find myself picking up all of these books because, like I said, I'm not a big romance fantasy person either. I think she's really, really good at it. Yeah, so that book, I feel like Queen of Shadows and Empire of Storms could have been combined into one book and really trimmed down a lot of the repetitive content that I felt like was in both of those books. If you have cut like 200 pages out of both of those books, put them together, I know the book would have been really long, so maybe cut down a little bit more, but if you would have been able to combine those two books, I think it would have been a stronger book overall. That's just me though. So skippers, come on back. I'm done talking about it, but I am going to be picking up this book this week. I should be able to finish it this week. And also Empire of Storms definitely took me the longest to read. So Assassin's Blade I read in a day. Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight also took like 1 day, 2 days maybe. Same with Air of Fire and Queen of Shadow. I read those really quickly as well. Empire of Storms took me a couple weeks to get through. So we want to take bets on how long it's going to take me to get through this one. Honestly, I might like this one if there is not a lot of romantic tension, although it follows Kale and Nezrin and they were already kind of having romantic tension, so we'll see. But that's really all I have for the introduction of this reading vlog. So I'm feeling very productive today. I filmed 2 videos today and I believe they both should be out. Let me check my calendar. Yes, by the time that you're seeing this. So I filmed a series that I am continuing in 2021, which is really fun to do and really reminded me I am in the middle of way too many series at the moment. And then I also filmed my anticipated releases for January of 2021. There's a lot on my radar. I think there's like 10 books in that list alone, which is concerning because that's only 1 month. So yeah, I am feeling really productive and I'm hoping to, because no matter what my test results are on Sunday, it's Friday right now, by the way. So it's a weird day to start the weekly vlog, but I figured since I'm so out of practice, I'll probably need an extra couple of days to actually get a good amount of footage. But I figure no matter what happens on Sunday, I am still going to have to quarantine a little bit before I go back to work. So I'm trying to take it as like a rest for myself because it's very stressful this time of year for me and mental health. So I'm trying to relax. I'm also trying to be productive and film because I have so many end of the year videos and beginning of the year videos that I want to film. So I'm gonna try and film a lot of those in December because seasonal depression is a bitch and I did not film as much as I wanted to in either October or November. Really November especially. I didn't get like half of the work that I wanted to do out. So I'm hoping December is going to be a little bit better on that regard. But with that being said, I am just going to talk to you guys tomorrow, hopefully with some good reading updates. Happy Sunday. I didn't film anything yesterday. Actually, I did get some good montage footage, but yesterday was like the calm before the storm because I did a bunch of cozy things. I played Animal Crossing. My brother and sister just got a Switch, so they just got an Animal Crossing account, so I was able to visit them, which was really lovely, and I played Animal Crossing for a long time. I did read a little bit, and then me and my partner actually made Christmas cookies with the cookie cutters that we have. We have like a weird little assortment, and none of them are Christmassy, so they're very Halloween based, but we tried to make them look a little more Christmassy. Oh well, cookies are cookies. But while we did that, while we were like rolling out the dough and putting them and baking them and all of that, we listened to some of the Fellowship of the Ring. So that was really cozy as well. I did mention this in my December TBR that we really want to finish that book by the end of this year because neither of us have listened to the audiobook before. Both of us were very young when we read the books because we were in like first and second grade when the movies came out, and we loved them. We wanted to read the books, and they're just a little too much for us at that point in our lives. So we're officially reading them with the audiobooks, and I think really just absorbing some things that our little kid selves maybe glossed over, didn't understand. I know definitely when I tried reading them, I'd like very much skim over the parts that were not in the movies because why would you want to know about those? First grade thinking. So that was really, really lovely. Today, I don't want to say it's not going to be lovely because obviously it's going to be another stay-at-home day, but we're going to get COVID tested today, which, you know, it doesn't really sound like a fun experience. I mean, it is what it is. I've definitely had more invasive medical things done than a nose swab. It's just people are being so effing dramatic about it on social media that like I'm a little nervous about it. So I just feel like people are hyping it up in a very negative way, and I don't know. I'm just very anxious about it, and I know I'm anxious just because the results are obviously very important to know. And just I feel like the whole atmosphere is just gonna be so weird because it is one of those drive up things, and I did have to get an appointment to actually make it into one of those drive-in clinics. And of course, to top it all off, I do have social anxiety anyway when it comes to any sort of like meeting or appointment, so this one is just a little bit nerve-wracking for me, but it's gonna be no big deal. But I'm definitely trying to keep my mind off things. So let's talk about books. Of course, I have the books I talked about at the beginning of this vlog that I don't think I've read a single one of them. I definitely haven't picked up To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. I have started Tower of Dawn. I've gotten to like the 6th chapter in that. So far it's actually a lot better than I was expecting. I'm not a Kale person. I don't like Kale as a character, but just the premise of this one is very interesting, at least so far. And then I actually forgot that my audiobook hold of The Living Dead was expiring. It's expiring tomorrow, and I obviously have the physical copy, but I checked out the audio version from my library just because with like really, really big books like this, it just felt like it would be kind of fun to follow along. I definitely don't need to have an audiobook for every physical book that I own, so that's why I'm checking it out from the library. And it's actually not that great of an audiobook, but I am really enjoying it. I think especially when I'm in a reading slump, that really helps for me. As one of my tips is to have a physical book, get the audiobook, and then read while you're listening to the audiobook. That's very helpful. So I am not even 100 pages into this, but this is really good. And I was really disappointed that this wasn't a nominee for the Goodreads Choice Nominees of Best Horror. George A. Romero obviously knows how to do zombies. This is very entertaining. So far, there aren't like a lot of twists. It's a very traditional zombie epic, but honestly, I think that's fine with me. The beginning of this isn't anything like groundbreaking in terms of new spins on zombies or like how the virus is spread or anything like that, but I feel like this is going to be very character driven and more exploring the characters and how they're responding to this situation and just like humanity in general, just kind of exploring that situation as opposed to it being just about the zombies. We'll see. I'm not very far into it, but I am really enjoying it so far. Per usual, I'm working my way through like 4 different books this week. I'm hoping to finish at least one of them. I'm at least hoping to finish Tower of Dawn. I'm planning on reading some more of that tonight. And I had a Barnes & Noble coupon and I used it to buy Kingdom of Ash because I feel like It was already on sale and then I could stack the coupon on top of it. So it was $13 for a hardcover, and that book's like 900 pages, I think. 900 or like it's very close to 1,000 if it's not 1,000 pages. So like 13, maybe 14 with tax is a really good deal for that book. So I went ahead and got it. I was trying not to buy any more books this year. I still have to film a book haul from October and November and December. So I guess I'm just gonna be waiting on that one before I film that video. But my broken record, I've said it so many times, I do want to finish that series this year. So I feel like once I finish Tower of Dawn, I'll really want to jump right into Kingdom of Ash. So I'll want that ready to go. Yeah, and speaking of ready to go, I have to get ready to go have strangers stick something up my nose. So yeah, I will see you later. Hopefully I will be negative, hopefully, but I don't even think that I find that out today. I think I have a couple more days. So I'll catch you guys later when I'm not panicking so much. I'm back and I have my clinging little dog because of course I was gone for maybe half an hour. No, I take it back, 45 minutes, but of course that's eternity. So I took the test. It wasn't that bad. So I do want to clarify because I feel like I was just so disjointed in the clip before this one. But the things that I was nervous about, I wasn't really nervous about the test. I'm nervous about the results of the test. And I was also nervous because the location where I had to go to is in a part of town I've never been to before, at like a Walgreens that I'd never been to before. So with my anxiety, that just always makes it very nerve-wracking for me to be driving to a place where I don't know where the place is. So that was the most nerve-wracking part. I made it there okay, made it back okay. I learned a new way home, which is fun, I guess. And the person there was so nice, so sweet. So it actually wasn't bad. Like the nose swab itself was not bad. We got to do it ourselves at the location where I was at, and a person just watched you through your closed car window just to make sure that you did it okay. But yeah, I'm feeling a whole lot better, a whole lot less anxious than when I went and took the test. So now I'm just gonna play a bunch of Animal Crossing. Honestly, I was really productive this morning and I edited and uploaded some videos, which is exciting. I love having my content pre-ready. So I don't really have anything else to do today. Just relax, which is a really exciting thing to be able to say. So hopefully I'll get those test results back soon, fingers crossed, but I already feel a whole lot better now knowing that I took it. Happy Wednesday. And it is a happy Wednesday because I got my COVID test back and I'm negative and my partner's negative. Both of those very exciting things. I'm in a really good mood. I read a ton last night. I was in such a physical reading mood. It was great. I read a ton of Tower of Dawn and I am more than halfway through the book. So it's like a 600 something page book. I'm on page 361. You guys, I don't know if this is just me coming off fresh from what I think is my least favorite book in the series, Empire of Storms, or if it's just my favorite, but I think this might be my favorite book of the series so far. I don't know what it is because I don't like Kale and he's still making decisions in here that I do not like, and I just don't like him as a character. But I love Nesrin, I love Yaren. I love how this is taking place, set in a different land. It just feels like a very new installation and I'm really enjoying it, which is so surprising. I was going into this book with like little to no expectations, thinking it probably was going to be my least favorite book in the series, and then getting very nervous because Empire of Storms was not the best book in the series, but I'm loving this. So I'm gonna actually try and finish this today And then I haven't really picked up any other books because I've been really focused on finishing this one. But I think after that, I will go to The Living Dead because I'm really enjoying that one too. And the more that I read from it, I stopped using the audiobook just because I wasn't vibing with it too much. The narrators themselves have really excellent voices and have very nice voices to listen to. But it's in like the older style of audiobooks. It's not an old audiobook. Obviously the book came out this year. But I feel like in older audiobooks, there's a tendency for the narrators to not prioritize giving different voices for different characters as much, which is what I feel like in this one. And it's a very character heavy book. And so there's a male narrator and a female narrator, and each chapter is pretty much from a different person's point of view. If it's a male main character, it's been the male narrator. A female main character has been the female narrator, but like their voices for everyone are the same, which for me, I'm not an audio learner, so it's hard for me to keep track. So I switched to the physical book and I am loving it. And the more I read, the more I'm upset it wasn't on the Goodreads Best of Horror for 2020. That's a video for another day that hopefully I'll be doing in January at this point. And that's another thing that's really exciting, that Mexican Gothic won the horror. And I think this is the first year since I've had a Goodreads and since I can remember that Stephen King has come out with a book and that he's had a book in the horror category that he hasn't won, which, no offense, I love King, but If It Bleeds was a very good short story collection, but Mexican Gothic was very, very good, and I'm very glad it won. I did not vote in the final round just because I still hadn't read all the books that I wanted to read, but I did vote for Mexican Gothic in the first 2 rounds because while I haven't read all the options, I'd read enough of the horror selections to know that that's the one that I wanted to win, and I'm so glad that it did. So yeah, it's turning out to be a really good day. That's really all I have for you. Not too much of a reading update, but I wanted to sit down while I actually was like feeling presentable, feeling up to filming, had good light to film, and just give a quick little reading update. So this should be done, fingers crossed, by tomorrow, and then hopefully I can get around to The Living Dead, and then I don't even want to talk about To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. I really would like to get that done this week as well, but I don't know, we'll see. That's really all I have for this update. I will talk to you guys when I'm finished with this to give you my final thoughts. Happy Thursday. I was filming, so that's why this shelf is empty, and I'm just gonna film and do a brief little update while I put these back in here. I actually think that I'm gonna have to do a whole bookshelf reorganization probably next week because I have this bookshelf that I film in front of. And then I have another bookshelf. It's over there. It's white. That is like a family heirloom, and that my grandpa made my mom, and then my mom gave it to me. However, my little sister really needs a bookshelf for her book collection, and my mom offered, obviously it's still mine if I wanted to keep it, but if I wanted to give that smaller one to my sister, my mom would buy me a new full-size one. Which I feel like I need for my book collection. So probably coming next week, we'll have a bookshelf reorganization because I have to strip an entire bookshelf and then just wait for whenever IKEA gets their full-size bookshelves in. So we're definitely gonna have to do some rearranging because I have a whole entire full bookshelf that I will not be able to use for the month of December. So I don't know where all those books are gonna go. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. I finished this. I think this might be my favorite book of the series so far, which is crazy, right? I'm planning on reading Kingdom of Ash this month, so we'll definitely have to see if that tops this one. But I think so far the series, this one's been my favorite, which I was not expecting because Cale is not my favorite character. He's one of my least favorite characters, actually. I do not like him. From the first book I thought he was fine. And then just in every book since, I have just really not enjoyed him as a character. So was not looking forward to Tower of Dawn at all because I knew we essentially followed him and a bunch of, for all intents and purposes, new characters. I know Nesrin was introduced in Queen of Shadows and we'd follow the both of them, but she's still a fairly new character as well. And also she was a character that I felt like got no page time. She seemed cool, but we didn't really know much about her. And then this book came about, and I will say I think that's definitely has to do with the power of a writer that I can enjoy a book and not like one of the major main characters. I did not come out of this liking Cale, so that's not it. It definitely expanded upon Cale's character in a way that I thought was very important to his character development. I think Heir of Fire was Aylin's character development book, and this was really Cale's character development book. He's still not great, but I'm glad that he learned what he did. But I really loved Yrene. Loved her. She was a great addition, and I feel like she was a strong female character in a different way than what we've seen in the series before, because I love all the badass feral women in this series that get shit done and are really adept at fighting and aren't afraid to kill people and aren't afraid to fight for the greater good and so what and so forth. I really liked how it showed that Yrene, she is very much a healer. She does not fight. She does not wish to fight. She doesn't have any of the same dreams as other strong female leads in this series, but she's a strong female lead in that she is a healer, and there are different kinds of strengths and they're all important. I also really love Nesrin, and I think that she deserves the world, and I'm really glad that she ended up with someone that was not Cale. Actually, the romances in this book, I really enjoyed both of them. I still don't enjoy Cale. I like Yrene enough though, where sometimes this happens in book series where I'll like a character so much. If I don't like the other character, I'm still like, you know what, I like this character so much, if this is what's gonna make him happy, then good for her. So Yrene, she likes Cale, that's fine, he's better now. I definitely think that she is his better half. It was perfectly paced. It was, like, the romance at least was really well done. I love a good slow burn, and I love, you know what I love? Enemies to friends to kind of flirty, but definitely friends, because we were enemies, we can't possibly be friends, to friends to lovers. I love that for them. This was very, very character driven, and I really liked the journey, and I'm excited to read the last one. There were definitely some revelations in here at the end of it where I was pleasantly surprised, and actually surprised. I feel like towards the beginning of the series especially, there are a lot of plot twists where I feel like, especially if you've read a lot of fantasy, you can kind of see where it's going, and they're not really plot twists or surprises. This had some surprises that, you know, I had bits and pieces of, and I was like thinking something was going on there. Again, not trying to spoil, but I didn't know the full extent, and I'm impressed, and I am just really excited to read the last book in this series. I think it's going to be a great way to end 2020, and that's really all I have to say on this. I have had such a great reading routine the past couple of days. It'll be after dinner, and my partner will be playing his new PS5 with his brother and my brother, and I will sit up here and I will put an ambient soundscape on, and I will just read a couple hundred pages, and then it'll be bedtime. This book really worked for me, and you know what's funny? And then I'll stop talking about this book, I promise. Whenever I go, so I've gotten most all of the books in this series secondhand. And what's funny to me is that every time that I go and look to see if a bookstore has any of these copies secondhand, I will maybe find one other book in the series, which is good because that's how I got most of the other books in the series. I'll find, like, you know, you'll maybe find another one, but you'll always find at least like 10 copies of this. And number one, I don't get, because it's not like this is a companion book. I thought it was a companion book to the series at first, but no, you need to read this to understand, I would assume, what's gonna go on in the last book in this series. So I don't know why everyone is like dumping their copies of this one. I guess you could read the series without reading this one upon a reread if you really didn't like the characters and you knew what was going to happen, but I just feel like for a completionist standpoint, you'd want to have all of them. It's such a mystery. I see at least 10 copies in every used bookstore I go of only this book, and I don't get it. Maybe because I went into this one having such low expectations, I don't know, but this really worked for me. I'm surprised. Are you surprised? I'm surprised. Cale still sucks, don't get me wrong. I'm still not a Cale fan, but I think that everything else that was happening in this book just really worked for me, especially because Yrene's not afraid to say what's wrong about him and his attitude and the way he thinks about things, which was needed. He needed a call out. So yeah, I'm gonna figure out which of the many books that I am just kind of working on right now. I'm in the middle of, there's 2 up there. I think I have 1 more as like an audio. Yeah, I have a lot of books going on right now. So I'm gonna decide which one that I want to continue with, and then I'll update you guys later. So it is very late Sunday night. I did not film like it all this weekend, which is okay. It's what I anticipated when I started this vlog last Friday, that I would need like more than a week to kind of get into the swing of reading vlogs, weekly reading vlogs again. So it turns out the only book that I ended up finishing this week was Tower of Dawn by Sarah J Maas. I was hoping to get a little bit more read this week, which I have read a lot of other books, but I'm in the middle of like 3 at the moment, so I didn't finish any other ones, which is fine. I was kind of in the mood to start Kingdom of Ash like immediately after I finished Tower of Dawn. I was supposed to get Kingdom of Ash in the mail, but my package was supposed to come on Friday and then it got sent to the wrong post office, so it says it's supposed to come tomorrow. Fingers crossed, so we'll see. I really hope so because it is lengthy and I want to finish that in December, but I did want to talk briefly about the books that I have been in the middle of this week. As you can see, a lot of pages, a lot of red and black too, but that's just kind of standard, the types of book I read, I feel. So the first one is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. And this one I still have not gotten a lot read, and I haven't really read any from the physical book. I've just read the audiobook. The audiobook is really, really good. And let me tell you, I am on page like 428, I believe, and I am enjoying it. It's probably going to take me the rest of the year to finish, but just because I honestly feel like this feels at least like a duology to me. Because I feel like normally when I'm thinking about things like this, it's usually series where I felt like they could have been condensed into shorter series or even a standalone. This is a standalone to my knowledge at the moment. This really does feel like a lot of the pacing issues that I'm having with this could have been rectified if this would have been at least a duology. That's how I'm feeling at the moment. That's all I really have on this one. I think I listened to maybe 30 minutes of the audiobook in total this whole entire week. So I'm definitely being very slow with reading this one. And then The Living Dead is the next book that I have to talk about. This one I did get to page 219, and I kind of had started this one on a whim. So I'm almost to the halfway point of this one and I am really enjoying it. This is about a zombie apocalypse and it is following several different characters. This is kind of like your sort of, I don't want to say typical zombie story, because this is honestly probably at the moment one of the best zombie books that I've read. Since I don't have the dust jackets on any of these, this is by George A. Romero and Daniel Kraus. I believe the majority of it was written by Romero, but he died before completing it, so I believe Kraus was the writer who just finished it up. But I'm really enjoying this one. Like I said, I think the only downside to this one is it is very much, it's almost like World War Z, if you've ever read that, where every single chapter in World War Z follows an interview with a different person and their perspective on the zombie apocalypse. This one is not told in interview format. It's a novel told in like the regular standard third person way, but we are following so many different characters that it does really have those kind of feel. And at this point in time, none of their stories are like connected at all, with the exception of one of the points of views is like a news anchor and one of the other characters is watching him on TV. I don't think really they're all going to have their paths cross at the end. I think it's sort of like a murderous, almost like apocalyptic Love Actually. No romance, but you're following very different plot lines and they don't really interact at all, if that makes sense. That's about as much as the holiday spirit that I'm getting into this December. So just compared a horror book to Love Actually, we're following several different stories, which I think is my favorite way to really experience this zombie apocalypse sort of genre. For whatever reason, stories like this just always, at least in book form, have just always worked better for me in really feeling the horror and the large scale effects of what a zombie apocalypse would be like instead of just following one character. It's really working for me. Obviously, trigger warnings for this one for body horror because they do not hold back with the descriptions of zombies eating people. That's good. I'm just going a little bit slower through this one because obviously I feel like with any book really where you have a lot of different characters and a lot of different stories, you like some stories and plot lines better than the others. So that's why I'm kind of going through this one slower, even though I feel like if I definitely took out 2 points of view at the moment and focused on the other 3 or 4, I'd be going through this a lot faster. But all in all, this is a really good book. I should probably finish this one next week, I'm thinking for sure. And then because 2 like 800-page books are not enough for me, in 1 week I picked up another 800-page book, I believe. I'm pretty sure this one's like 800 pages as well. Trying not to spoil myself, but looking at the page count, 600 pages. So this one's only 600 pages, but I started Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth, and I am loving this one so far. I am absolutely loving this one. So I have the physical book and I highly recommend picking up the physical book because there are some full-size illustrations in here. And they're really beautiful. One of the plot lines in here takes place in 1902, and in that one you have these illustrations and it feels like a classic novel. And the whole book is told in a very gothic style of writing where there is a narrator breaking down the fourth wall and talking to the audience like dear reader, stuff like that. Really good. I love it. I love all those gothic tropes, so this is really good so far. And I'm not very far into it, so I don't have a lot to say, but definitely expect more in next week's vlog about this book. This very much gives me The Haunting of Bly Manor vibes in terms of they're both classified as horror, but they're definitely more of a gothic story and a slow burn story, and it's not like slasher horror. Like I'm definitely reading a classic slasher, gory, fast-paced sort of, or as fast-paced as you can get for 800 pages story with the living dead, but this one's very much gothic, quieter. It focuses on characters and relationships. It's very slow moving. Honestly, I think I can see where the plot is going, but not a lot has happened, and I just hit the 100-page mark. So that is something that I absolutely love in a book. I love just getting lost in descriptions and characterization, and I don't really need a plot, especially in the beginning all of the time. I think that's why a lot of Stephen King's longer books really work for me too, but I just am really, really loving this one, and I have a feeling, at least if the ending lives up to the beginning of this, that this is going to be one of my favorite books of the year as well. But that is all I have for you guys. I feel like this vlog has gone on for long enough, and I'll be starting another weekly vlog tomorrow, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this vlog out. But if you liked it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, subscribe for more content from me. Stay safe, stay spooky, and I'll see y'all on the other side. Bye!